It's like the best video ever.
This is crazy.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Hey!
What's up?
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday. Hump day.
Happy Wednesday, Jeannie. It is Wednesday. Excited to see everyone who's on, whether you're watching live with us or on the replay. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Absolutely, guys. I actually just had a crazy idea before this. I'll probably share it at the end, but it's interesting as we are in this space of networking and meeting people. You know, Janelle and I had an amazing meeting last night with a group of young ladies that we had an opportunity to work with before. If you guys saw the episode about brunch pitch, I'm telling you guys, you definitely got to go check that episode out. Those women are absolutely about to help us take this platform to the next level. So again, I just want to free plug for another episode you guys got to check out. Go check out that brunch pitch episode. And the person we have on today, man, she is about to bring that heat. So I'm definitely excited about today. Janelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I am also very excited. I have to admit, I've been like really waiting for this. Like, I'm really excited for this today's topic, especially.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get that drum roll going, Jay. And today's question is.
Today's question is your plan B setting up your business to fail? Very good question.
Yeah.
Very good question.
And you guys are in luck because it's not going to just be Janelle and I today sharing our wisdom on this topic. Janelle, if you do the honors.
Yes, I am super excited to have with us today a young woman who I met through networking, who honestly just blew me away with her passion, her zest for life, just her vigor and drive to like try and soak up as much information just so she can help not only her own business, but then the passion to want to share all of her newfound knowledge with so many people. And one of the best things about her, I have to say, is that she's actually, not only does she design spaces, but she's actually designing her own life. So I am really excited to have Ellen Wright with us.
I'm Ellen Wright of Apartment Rehab NYC. Are you homeschooling a child? 2 children? Multiple children? Then you need a crying closet. In my latest design, the crying closet offers the perfect place for peaceful solitude, quiet reflection, and dry heaving. The crying closet features sound muffling sheet drapes, perfect for drying tears and stifling screams. Sit comfortably on a cozy floor pillow while contemplating your life choices. The warming glow of the battery-powered LED frame light and candle evoke the feeling of the sun gently beating down on you as you relax on a child-free island. Finished off with a Kleenex and cocktail nook, the crying closet is an easily achievable interior upgrade, utilizing any existing closet space and items already in your home.
Thanks, Ellen.
For more of my interior design work, follow Apartment Rehab NYC on Instagram and share this video with a friend in need of a private place for silent screens.
Are you almost done in there? I need the closet.
Oh, man.
Yes!
Welcome to the show, Ellen. Welcome.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction.
Indeed. I gotta say, one second, as an ex-real estate broker, the way you described that closet, you could get that. You could have that charged $2,000 somewhere in the city, and somebody a nice nook. I'm like, a nook? You're talking about the stand with the wine with the little glass of sugar.
It's a sensible coat closet.
Absolutely.
Never underestimate a sensible coat closet.
I love it.
It's your new wellness. It could be your new wellness space. Just leave the door open a crack so you don't asphyxiate. Disclaimer.
Oh man, we're not the only ones who find it funny. We got other people who are on who got love it just as much. I am really excited to have you on, Ellen. Thank you so much for taking the time. And so I would love if you could just talk a little bit about your story. Thank you for the time. We got 25 minutes on the clock. If you could just tell us a little bit about your come up. So like, obviously you're doing interior design, but you didn't always start out that way. So if you could tell us a little bit about like what you were doing before interior design, why you decided to eventually get into that space, and like where you are now.
Yes, well, it is. I will try to make it as short of a story as possible because it is a slow burn. The title of my memoirs will be Ellen Wright, Slow Burn. So for 30, I have a background in show business. I did musical theater fairly successfully for 35 years, and I got to a point. Maybe some artists feel this. It wasn't fulfilling that artist inside of me anymore. It was just sort of becoming repetitive. There was no bliss. There was no joy, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. I had zero skill sets. I have a degree in tap dancing. I don't know anything about business or starting a business or being an entrepreneur. So I didn't have any idea what I was supposed to do. So during this time, I was in a successful off-Broadway musical that was checking all the boxes. My life should have been awesome. And other than I got married, like my wife and I bought a very small studio apartment, like wonderful things were happening in my life, but my career was just not doing it for me. So because we didn't have a lot of money, we bought a very small Harlem studio apartment that had not been touched since 1977. It was in some pretty rough shape. And we hired, a friend of ours recommended an architect who we hired to come in and do a renovation. And I ended up working really closely with her. Now, sidebar, I've always dabbled in decorating. Since I was a kid, hindsight is 2020. Looking back on going over to play with friends and making a game out of rearranging all the furniture in their bedroom was probably a sign that maybe show business, like it was either going to be that or show business, and show business was too seductive. I just did show business, but I always kind of did it. So I worked with this architect. We hit it off, and because of my theater background, I had this kind of hobby of making spoof videos. Whenever I was in a show, I would do a spoof documentary or a spoof music video. So I thought, ooh, this is fun. I'll make a spoof Fixer Upper episode based on the Chip and Joanna Gaines Fixer Upper, and I'll take their episode mold and I'll just do like a spoof version of it to document the whole process. And so I did that, and I posted it on YouTube and thought nothing of it. And then two things happened literally within a 24-hour period. My phone rang, and it was HGTV.
Oh, wow.
And they said, you're hilarious. We're totally interested. And now, in retrospect, you probably shouldn't say this to a casting department, but I know how they roll, and I know that they follow licensed contractors and real estate brokers. And I was just an actor. It was all fake. Like the whole episode was fake, and they thought it was a real thing.
Wow.
And so I told them that. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't think I'm what you're looking for.
Oh my God.
And they said, okay, well, we'll keep you in mind. We'll keep you on the back burner. And I hung up the phone with them, and I thought, and they still took me all the way down to the final Skype interview with them. They're great. Like, they were just like wonderful humans. They were all so sweet and so kind. And the whole process, I was saying, but I don't do this. I'm not who you're looking for.
Wow.
And then the next day, after I kind of said, I don't think that's right, the architect that we worked with called and said, you have a lot of natural talent. How would you like to be an interior designer for my architect business? And it was this moment where the clouds part, the chakras align, and the universe goes, oh, and hands you on a silver platter something that I just knew in that moment, it just felt right. And so I literally in that moment just said, okay, universe. And I called my agent the next day and said, deuces, I'm out, I quit. I'm going to be an interior designer now. I don't know how to do that, but so that was day one.
Wow.
Of my transition into business ownership.
Well, that's really interesting, right? So here you are. It's like the Steve Jobs graduation speech, right? Like the dots don't connect until you turn around and look back at everything. And so you recognize now, to your point, 2020, okay, like I probably had this in me. This was like something that like I was really good at even from when I was little. And so here you are now, and you're like, I'm in it. I'm doing my thing. You essentially drop what you were doing as like your main career and decide to go into interior design. And so for those of you who don't know, here's my thing. I know like Ellen is like wildly successful right now. So in my mind, I'm like, how do we get from like just starting to like now where she is, where she's wildly successful? And I think the answer to that will actually also answer today's question, which is the whole thing about your plan B.
Yeah.
So if you could tell us a little bit about that, I would love for people to hear. Did you have a plan B? Like what did that look like? Like, yeah.
Well, as an actor, yeah, we have a whole bucket of plan Bs, and all of them are fairly awful and humiliating, but it keeps us artists. And so we do what we have to do to put food on the table, literally. But there's a lot of really scraping the bottom of the barrel, hard days. And it's a rough business to be in, even when you're successful. It's rough. So I didn't know what to do. Day 2 of my transition was Googling, how do I start a business in New York? And a friend of mine who was an entrepreneur said, listen, I'll come over and I'll help you set up an LLC. Oh, I need an LLC. Okay, yes. I just said yes. You don't ask questions. When someone offers you help, you just say, yes, thank you.
That's a good point.
I'm free at 2:00. So she came over, she helped me set up my LLC. Then the next day I called Bank of America and I set up all my business accounts. And then because I didn't have a lot of money, I went on Amazon and I started buying a bunch of used books for $1.50 on entrepreneurship and how to run a business, and just like a whole bunch of other psychological stuff, because I realized early on, and this is my first like big secret, this is step 1 for anybody. Doesn't matter what you go into or like what you're into, what your business is about. If your headspace isn't right, it's not going to work. So you could have, even if you decide, okay, today I'm just going to get rid of all my plan Bs. If this isn't in order, then you don't stand a chance. And so that was actually the very first business thing I did, was to work on my psychology, was therapy, was reading self-help books. I didn't start reading business books at all. I started reading self-help books. There are some great ones out there, which I can give you like a list so you can let your subscribers know.
Right.
But that was step 1, was start doing self-care, yoga, exercising every day, meditating every day, no excuses, 10 minutes. And all of this, PS, you can find all of these resources for free on YouTube. You don't have to pay for any of this. Like self-care is 100% free if you are interested in looking into it. So that was step 1. Once I felt like I was in the headspace where I could take the next step. Okay, another little sidebar. So I became an entrepreneur, not so much because I wanted to be a girl boss and have all this stress and pressure and no social life, but I have dyslexia. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I have like a lot of headspace issues that I've struggled with my whole life, that have sort of made working any kind of normal jobs almost impossible. I can barely, like I see numbers and letters backwards and upside down. So working with numbers, like I couldn't even work a cashier at any retail store or anything. So being an entrepreneur was actually kind of necessary for someone like me. So it was realizing that I had to forgive myself, that I wasn't stupid, number 1, and that's a headspace. When you're working on your headspace, is you are not a stupid person. You are talented. It's like you have to give yourself all the pep talks. Otherwise, that little voice in your ear will just be like, you're too dumb. You can't do this. It's like, what is the Brene Brown, all the FFTs? Every day is full of like 10,000 FFTs. The first one will take you out if you don't if you don't have the self-care as a part of your, like as a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. But I still had those plan Bs, man. They're so hard to get rid of. I mean, I had like the personal assistant job and the hair makeup job and the like, I don't know, man. Anytime anybody needed a thing, I would do some freelance gig, and it took up so much of my day. And I was so stressed and so overwhelmed, and none of that time was I focusing on business growth. And then a funny thing called a global pandemic happened. And I'm sure this is true for a lot of people. All the plan Bs vanished. No plan Bs. All the things
Can I ask a question? When did you step away from acting and transition into your business? Just so I understand the timeline now.
I guess I had been doing it for about a year and a half before the pandemic.
Okay. And the success Janelle mentioned really briefly is before, or no? This is
no. I still
awesome.
had.
Okay.
I was not. I was only successful truly until about 6 months ago.
Wait, but you got to hear this story.
So I was working a little bit as an interior designer because I was working with the contractors that did our renovation and the architect that had sort of hired me to be like her in-house person, like as a freelance person. But I didn't know how to run a business. And so I was never going to attract, I didn't know what to do. And so I wasn't really doing anything I needed to do. So I knew there were questions that needed to be asked, but I couldn't because of the plan Bs. I couldn't do research because I had to get on a bus and go to my day job. I got home from the day job. I was exhausted. I just wanted to eat dinner, pour a glass of wine, watch Handmaid's Tale, and go to bed like everybody else. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So when when the pandemic happened and all of that stuff was swept out from underneath me, we all grieved. We all had that initial like, oh my God, my life is over. This is terrifying. What am I going to do? Like what I did doesn't even exist anymore. What do I have to, that panic that we all experience. And then there's that morning where you wake up and you go, okay, well, what now? I mean, what am I going to do? Like I can sit here and be scared, or I can lean into the fear and problem solve. I mean, what else am I going to do all day? Like I've already binged every single show on Netflix. There was sort of nothing left to do but sort of ask some questions, and I had time to do it finally. But even that took months. So I just started researching. I just started looking at stuff online. I started asking my friends who had left show business as well and had gone into other industries. And one thing led to another. And like asking for help has got to be the first step. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you got to ask a question. Even if you don't know who to ask. I didn't even know who to ask the question to. Sometimes it was just an ambiguous, dear internet, on a social media platform. Does anybody know an interior designer whose brain I can pick? Like, what is a shipping house? I didn't know any of that stuff. So yeah, like the plan Bs vanished, and I spent all day working on my business. And that was when the magic started to happen. And I took some money out of my savings and I invested in an online course from founder.com, which PS is a treasure trove candy store of resources on like every entrepreneurial topic, like how to start a side hustle, how to leverage a business on Instagram, and hundreds of other things. It's incredible. So I took their Instagram domination course, and in just a few months, I went from 148 followers to like over 6,000.
Wow.
And then that trained me, because now I'm learning about how to create dynamic content and how to do all of that stuff. And that got me in touch with new mentors that were then reaching out. It's like one investment, like that course, I haven't even finished it. Like it's been over a year and I never even finished it because I got so busy. I moved on to something else.
Right.
But asking for help, taking a class, classes, online courses, they're so easy to access now. I mean, just a simple research can take you to founder.com. It's like a one-stop shop. I'm so glad that I stumbled, because I looked at dozens of others and they just didn't resonate with me. There's something about the people that teach those courses that are really inspirational. But I started to get a taste of what it was like to just have a plan A. And the growth, the speed of which the growth happened when there were no plan Bs was astronomical.
Wow.
But that's just my story. I don't know. Other people might be different.
Well, I was blown away the first time I heard the story, but hearing it again, there's even some like other nuances that I don't remember hearing the first time, but just founder.com, that's a huge, like, right? Like nugget there. Anybody
There you
watching?
go.
Yeah.
Wait, where is it?
Right, exactly. Take a look at that for some help. And I love that you also got mentors. We've talked about how important mentorship is, but it's just about like asking questions. Like there's got to be somebody who did something similar, if not exactly the same, who would love to share with me, which is what mentors do. They love to like share things and tips and recommendations that could possibly help someone else, like not have to fall into the same pitfalls that, that they did. So I love that. And then ultimately, so the answer is the plan B was holding you back. Is that how you feel about it?
For me, yes. And I mean, all the books I've now read dozens of business books, and they all say that. And I get it. I get why they say it. We only have so much energy before we need to go sleep again. And our brains, like we're already on devices and distracting ourselves, and our brains are so cluttered. What is it, like the fork in the garbage disposal brains? And it's screaming at you all the time. And it's now we're going back to headspace. Learning the tools to calm the voice so that you can laser focus on something in a day and age where we have the attention span of a goldfish is really important. And that's for anything. This applies to any industry anyone goes into, is you have to be in the right headspace first. Otherwise, you won't have time to work out. That's the quote. It's like, I don't have time. Make time. It has to be non-negotiable or you're sunk. Hire people. When your business gets to a point where you can't do it all on your own, find a budget, change your business plan, take out a small business loan. And that all falls within the asking for help bubble. Because one person can't do all that stuff. Anyone who knows anything about entrepreneurship knows it takes a village to make that happen. It is not like one genius that just created it all. It's like the idea guy and then all the integrators that make it happen. Surround yourself with integrators. Like for me, it was surrounding myself with a bookkeeper that knew how to do math. It was a liability to my business for me to ever even look at my books at all. My wife is a Broadway stage manager, so she is like master integrator. So she has been a huge help in the paperwork aspect of all of this stuff. So it's all about asking for help, getting a therapist, getting a business coach. My favorite, a business coach that I highly recommend, Alexandra Mitchell. Support at alexmitchellconsulting.com. She offers complimentary business strategy sessions. Complimentary. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
That sounds like another guest we may have on.
Oh my gosh, please. Oh, please. She's my favorite. Her and the life coach. If you want a career empowerment coach, Valerie Lyons is another one you really have to have on. What she does for women over 50 is unbelievable. If you are a woman business owner, Valerie Lyons, VALJLYONS @gmail.com. Boom. And it's like, you need these people, you need this support system. You need to have like weekly meetings with these people to check in while you're in fetal position, sobbing on the floor, because it's just too much for one person to handle all of this junk. Like you've got clients screaming at you. You've got deadlines that are overdue. You've got paperwork that you don't even know how to read. It's too much for the human brain. You need help.
You need help. One of the things that I remember we talked about, so mindset, Winston and I have talked a lot about mindset in many different areas and topics. I remember when you and I talked, there was one book in particular that you mentioned, and I would love if you could just like tell me a little bit about some of like your larger takeaways. I say me, but like there's a bunch of people who are also listening. I'm sure would love to hear some of this. So if you remember, it was How to Unfuck Your Brain, if I
Yes,
remember the title correctly.
that's what I thought it was. And of course, the story, my favorite part that had me rolling in the aisles laughing was when she's like, be like the goat. And anybody that knows that book, she talks about, she was, I think, house sitting or something for a friend, and there were these goats. It's been a year since I read the book, so I'm going to butcher this, but she talks about how like the goats kept they're smart. Goats are really, really effing smart, and they kept getting out of their crate, pen, whatever goats live in, and like jumping on cars and smashing through windows and just like living their best goat lives. And you tell them like, no. And goats are like, screw you. I'll do whatever I want to do because I'm a goat. And she said, like, this is business training 101. You have to be like the goat. And she left the door open one day or something, and the goats got in the house. And she came home and the goats had trashed the house. I think she called it like they had a pooping and pissing party, basically everywhere, all over the house, destroyed all the furniture. And she's like, instead of getting up, she got upset initially, but then she was like, enchanté. Respect. There was a door there, and you said,
You guys
nope.
went in.
And I mean, it's like stubbornness, really. And there's a difference. Like, she's not saying be a dick. She's not saying destroy people's property. She's not saying, you know, like be a jerk and don't care about people. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is goats are constantly hitting barriers. They're constantly being fenced in, locked in, caged up, because they always get out. And their life, like their life's work is to figure out. They're so smart. They're like, ooh, yay, yes. I see that new lock you have on that gate. That's going to be a fun one. I'm going to get out of that lock because I'm going to figure out how to get through. I mean, be like the goat, because life is going to throw stuff at you that is going to take you out. And you just have to be like the goat.
Wow. This is really good. Be like the
She's
goat.
hilarious.
The crazy thing is, like, goat has like another, right, greatest of all time. So I almost feel like it's almost like a play on like this whole thing, like be the goat, right? Like be the greatest of all time at like solving solutions or finding solutions, right? Like,
I've never heard that.
Oh yeah. Hang out with us, Ellen.
Namaste.
Oh man.
I really love that. It makes me think of the story you shared, you know, with the guy on the plane. It just essentially talks about perspective, right? So instead of looking at it as a problem, it's a challenge. It's fun. It's like kids love that whole idea of trying to figure out something. And as we get older, we tend to obviously, I guess, grow up and stop trying to have fun with life. Man, I love that.
It's fear. Fear is a real bitch.
Yeah, I don't know the story well, but Janelle, if you were telling me, it was the guys on the plane, was it the turbulence? Remember the one you guys got the?
Yeah. Okay. Really quickly.
Yes, please.
So he's on a plane, and turbulence happens. Now, for most people, when turbulence happens, like even like the coolest person on the plane is like low key, like freaking out, right? Like I've had people like grab my hand, like complete strangers grab my hand, like right. And so he's like freaking out, you know, doing his whole prayers and everything. And as this is happening, there's some kids in the like a couple rows above him or in front of him, and they're like, wee! Right, like legit, like on a roller coaster, having a good time. Because for them, the association of turbulence and crashing is not for them, right? So we created this fear of like, oh, turbulence means crashing. I fear dying, whatever. But for them, it was just like a ride. Like it was. So he had this complete transformation of thought, like in the moment. At first he was like, these children are so disrespectful. Like I'm having a meltdown and they want to have fun right now. Like I'm not okay with this. But in the end, he was like, look at that, like perspective. Like if instead of looking at something as like you're fearing it, what if you just enjoyed the ride? And I'm telling you, every time I'm on a plane now and we hit turbulence, my little inner child is like, wee, hands up. It's this amazing thing.
That is wise. We should all study at the feet of those small children. They
right?
know something. They know something. Yeah.
Well, here's what, and I know we're running out of time, so we're going to get into overtime. But what I really would love for you to talk about, so we just got into it, right? fear. And how to unfuck your brain. There's
Yep.
this talk about what fear really is and essentially how to like get out of it.
Yes.
But like your description of what that is, like how that even starts, is like super interesting. So I do want to, yeah, I'm with you, Brittany. Mind blown. The story blew me away. But I would love for us to go into overtime and for you to tell us like the secret to unlocking the fear. Like I want us to talk about that. That's what I wanted to talk about in overtime. Okay. I see Winston smiling like, yes.
This is why you gotta be one of our community members on Patreon. I mean,
this is it. This is it. If you've ever wondered,
this is where the I love Janelle saying this is where the tea gets extra hot.
Extra hot.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and put that in the chat, our Patreon. So you guys, if you haven't already, go check out the overtime episode in Patreon with Rachel Evans about nonprofits. That's already there. We're going to go into overtime with Ellen. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, click on the like bell. If you got any value out of today, and you're like, man, this is super awesome. Like I learned so much. Other entrepreneurs should know about this. Please share this video with all of your friends who are entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that this gets out so that way everyone can gain the wisdom that Ellen was so gracious enough to give us today. Super excited to have you on.
And Ellen, where we can I know we can find you on Instagram. I know I have your company's website, or excuse me, your company's Instagram, right? It's right there, Apartment Rehab NYC, and then your personal Instagram is just your name, right?
Yeah, just my name. But I'm less on there. It's mostly just the Apartment Rehab NYC. Yeah, nice. And then my website. And those are the two.
Yeah, we got it up right there, apartmentrehabnyc.com. Well,
That's
again, thank you. Thank you to everybody who was on live with us. Again, if you guys are with us, the Patreon video is going to be recorded and thrown up later today. So rewatch this first part, have a couple laughs, and then a couple hours from now, you guys will have that up. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's close it out.
As always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. Have a rest day, you guys.